Normal Catholic life is organized around two bases. The first are communities of worship, usually within parishes. The second are the priests or presbyters who lead those parish communities. At this moment in church history, both of those bases are crumbling before our eyes, and there is no sign of that trend turning around. Something needs to be done, so I want to look at the problems that are facing those two bases and offer some solutions that might fix them. First, let's look at the presbyter problem. There are not enough presbyters, and everyone knows there are not enough presbyters. The ratio of lay people to presbyters is terrible. In the United States, for every 1,300 people who affiliate strongly with Catholicism, there is only one active presbyter. 1,300 to 1. In no world is that ratio okay. When you have a ratio like that, there will be people who get left out of sacramental life. Most pastors don't even know the names of everyone who regularly comes to Mass on Sunday. Think about how stupid that is. In some places, like in the Amazon rainforest, the ratio of lay people to presbyters is even worse. For instance, in the Amazonian Diocese of Xingu, there is one presbyter for every 12,000 Catholics. Erwin Krautler, the former bishop of Xingu, said that there are thousands of Amazonian communities who only receive the Eucharist 1, 2, or 3 times a year. The Eucharist, for us Catholics, is the source and summit of our faith. And these poor people are practically excluded from the context of the Catholic Church. Jesus commanded us to do this in memory of me, and people are being prevented from following that command because of church policy. It is totally unacceptable. There was a whole church synod dedicated to this problem that seems to have produced nothing of value. But the problem is not going away, it is getting worse. We need to improve the ratio of presbyters to lay people. And not just a little improvement, a dramatic improvement. We should look to the Last Supper and take our ratio from there. Yes, we should aim for a 1 to 12 ratio of presbyters to laity. In the United States, getting to that goal would mean ordaining 1 million new presbyters. 1 million. For people who are tempted to say that this goal is unrealistic, I ask you, for the sake of God and His kingdom, to stop being a total weenie. A 1 to 12 ratio is doable if we just have the will to do it. The first step to getting there is removing the celibacy requirements. No one watching this video is surprised. It's honestly not even worth debating about this anymore. If anyone thinks the celibacy requirement is helping the advance of the kingdom more than it's hurting, then their head is fully submerged in the sand. Their brains are fried. The requirement should be gone tomorrow. Then after that, we should look to ordain not random young dudes, but Catholics who have been solid in their faith and active in their parishes for decades. The word presbyter comes from the Greek word for elder, so we should seek elder believers to take on that role. The people in your parish, married or unmarried, who are holy, joyful, emotionally mature, and have been active in the faith for decades, should be invited to become presbyters. Also, we should not make these candidates to the presbyterate go study theology and philosophy for 6 years before we ordain them. You actually don't need a philosophy degree or years of theological study to lead a worship community. So let's not put that burden on people. In fact, let's not require a college degree at all. When we identify good presbyteral candidates, the bishop can train them for a few months, maybe a year, and then ordain them. And if you're wondering how we'll pay the salaries of all these people, my response is that there's no reason why the presbyterate should be a paid career, especially when there are way more presbyters to share the work. It should instead become a relatively low time commitment volunteer role that people take out of love and a desire to serve. Preparing sermons seems to be the main time sink for presbyters today, so what if we made it so that instead the bishop prepares the sermon, which is then read at every Eucharist? Would this be a bad change? I suspect that relatively few tears would be shed if we learned that we never had to hear one of our pastor's homilies again. If some presbyter happens to be a very gifted preacher, he can always ask permission from the bishop to write his own stuff. So that's the presbyter problem and its solutions. Now we turn to the community problem. Once we ordain our 1 million new presbyters, we shouldn't just pencil them into the mass schedule at the local parish and call it a day, nor should we found 1 million new parishes with 1 million expensive new church buildings. We need to accept that a major reason why Catholics stop practicing their faith is because the parish model that we have now is broken. The church pews continue to feel cold, anonymous, and distant from what's going on the altar. The structure of the parish itself, the context of our Eucharist, needs serious change. My proposition is that the parish remains, but but that it be organized into small Eucharistic groups of around 12 people. Again, thinking back to the Last Supper. Each of these groups will have at least one presbyter. The new norm will be that most weeks, each small group celebrates its own Mass together. These Masses need not take place in a church building. Each group, with the leadership of their presbyters, can decide where their Eucharist will be held. Maybe the group members will rotate hosting on their own. Maybe they'll hold their Eucharist in a park. Maybe they'll hold their Eucharist in the basement of the church building, or maybe they'll hold it in the sanctuary of the church building. The smallness and closeness of these Eucharistic groups will make the experience of Mass much more personal. The love we manifest right now for our brothers and sisters in the body of Christ is not where it needs to be. These small groups will serve as fertile plots where love can grow. When Catholics actually know and love by name all of their fellow worshipers, including their presbyters, it will be a game changer for normal Catholic life. While worship with a small group will be the norm, the whole parish should also come together for big feasts, maybe once a month. More big diocese-wide worship events should be a goal as well, to emphasize the unity of the whole body of Christ and the universality of our mission. Those are the two solutions that I think we should focus on right now: the multiplication of presbyteral ordinations and the development of the Eucharistic small group within the parish. I think these reforms could help our church become a bright light that attracts, rather than a dim one that struggles to stay lit. And we must not fall into the clericalist trap of waiting for our bishops to figure these things out and waiting for our bishops to implement solutions. We as lay people need to be active, making these changes happen with our bishops. If you want to organize a movement to try and get the ball rolling on these changes, then send me an email, or just start doing something on your own in your own parish. But whatever we do, we must start now. May God's kingdom come.